Before my 16th year, I was the epitome of a noble lady from the capital's distinguished families. Every gesture and word was measured by strict propriety. After my 16th year, my reputation lay in tatters. I committed every conceivable folly for Zhao, heir to the Marquis of Chongping, all because Zhao once said that if I could complete 100 tasks he demanded within 3 years, he would marry me as promised by our betrothal. In the depths of winter, he flung the yellowed marriage contract into the lake. I plunged in to retrieve it, only to find the paper shattered and the words washed away. This final task I could not complete. 5 days later, I knelt at the palace gates, clutching my grandfather's broken sword. All believed I sought to force the marriage. Little did they know, becoming a princess for a political alliance could temporarily uphold the honor of my Duke of Protection household. The moment Zhao tossed the marriage contract into the lake, only dread remained in my heart. Without even a moment to think, I plunged in after it. The winter lake water was bitterly cold, and my heavy garments drained my strength. Yet I refused to give up searching. When I finally spotted it, my heart leapt with joy. I reached out to grab it, only to see the marriage contract shatter into fragments. Bobbing up and down with the ripples, the ink characters blurred into swirling black mist, pulling my vision into utter darkness. After struggling ashore, everyone looked at me with contempt. This eldest Miss Zhao was once the foremost noble lady of the capital. How could she now stoop so low? Such a disgrace to our women's honor. Prince, he already has a beloved. Why must Miss Zhao press him so? It's such a pity. Of all the tasks, she completed every single one, except this one. Could it be Prince he did this deliberately? If I were toyed with like this, my father and brothers would have stormed his door long ago. A thin layer of frost clung to my clothes and hair, each step crunching beneath my feet. Zhao held Su Wanqing close as they warmed themselves by the fire in the pavilion. Brother Zhao, the 3-year term is up. What do you intend to do? Su Wanqing tilted her head, her smile charmingly coy. A fox fur coat, pure and flawless. It was the 86th task Zhao had asked me to complete last winter. Gathering armpit fur to make a coat, I scoured every mountain near the capital. In the end, I even traveled 1,000 miles to Yongzhou to hunt foxes. Yet he turned around and gifted it to someone else. Only a fox fur of such quality is worthy of my dearest. Zhao bent down to adjust Su Wanqing's hood, his face brimming with indulgence and affection. I accept defeat gracefully. Su Wanqing covered her mouth with a soft laugh. Then the eldest Miss Zhao is truly pitiful. What I promised Qingqing, I shall fulfill. This grand drama, played out over 3 years, should finally come to an end. I sneered inwardly. It was indeed time. Zhao. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Zhao. A sudden, piercing cry rang out, a mix of fury, grievance, and heartache. Before I could turn, I was swept into an embrace. Scorching tears fell upon my neck, burning like fire. A thick cloak was draped over me, and a steaming hot water bottle was tucked into my arms. The woman shielding me wore plain white robes, her frame slender, yet the long spear in her hands fluttered with crimson tassels. Does Prince he think the Zhao family has no one left? To insult the eldest daughter of the Zhao family so grievously, I must ask if this spear of my late husband's deems it fitting. My second aunt, shielded by my second uncle all her life, when had she ever spoken with such fierce intensity? My second uncle possessed innate strength. That spear weighed over 100 pounds. How could my second aunt, a woman who had never trained in martial arts, possibly lift it? The crowd fell silent, as if only now remembering that my surname Zhao belonged to the Zhao family of the Duke of Hua's mansion. Second Aunt Zhao's face flushed with embarrassment. I am unworthy of the Crown Prince's title of second aunt. Since the marriage contract is destroyed, I, of the Zhao family, shall make this decision. This marriage to Crown Prince he is null and void. Henceforth, men marry women, and we shall have nothing more to do with one another. Second Auntie gathered me into her arms and led me away. Zhao stepped forward to block our path. Ying. I stared at him, my body shaking so violently I couldn't utter a word. If the crown prince has even a shred of conscience left, he will step aside. Every moment you delay, my Ying endures another moment of cold. The carriage raced forward. Second aunt held me close, weeping incessantly. Poor child. Poor child. My consciousness grew hazy as I murmured, "Please, don't tell, grandmother." I fell into a long dream. In it, all my kin were present. Grandfather sipped tea brewed by grandmother, grimacing at its bitterness. Father helped mother sort embroidery threads. Second uncle coaxed second aunt to wear a newly bought hairpin. Third uncle was chased by younger siblings demanding candy. Fourth and fifth uncles had their ears tugged by grandmother to view a maiden's portrait. Eldest brought her basked in the sun atop a tree. My second brother tugged at me, recounting recent amusing tales. Time in that dream was warm. Smiles endless I never wanted to wake. Suddenly, a voice whispered in my ear, "Zhao Chuying, weren't you going to marry me? Wake up. When you do, they'll take you as my bride." I covered my ears, refusing to listen. Lies. All lies. Another hand grasped mine, an aged voice brimming with heartache. Ying, my dear child, you can't abandon your grandmother. A child's voice cried out. Big sister. Big sister. Father's bloodied hand brushed my cheek. Ying has grown up. You must help father care for our family. Yes. I cannot falter. I must uphold the honor of the Duke of Hu's household. I awoke on the third morning. My second sister knelt by my bed, her brow furrowed. Seeing my eyes open, joy flashed across her face before tears rolled down her cheeks. "Sister, you scared me to death." Her wail drew the entire household to my side. Grandmother clutched my hand tightly, tears streaming down her aged face. I too bowed my head, choking back sobs. "Grandmother, your granddaughter has been unfilial. I have broken off the engagement with the Chongping Marquis heir. You did well." In grandmother's opinion, this match was never fitting. Years ago, if not for his mother and your mother having been close friends in their youth, how could the idle rich of the Chongping Marquis household ever hope to secure the eldest daughter of my Duke of the State's household? Listen to grandmother. Don't think about anything. Just rest and take care of yourself. You've shouldered enough these past years. I lay down as grandmother instructed. Yet sleep eluded me completely. I rose and wandered aimlessly through the courtyard. The western wall needed repair. The charcoal supply was running low, and with the new year approaching, festive gifts for every household must be prepared, and new garments for my younger siblings must be cut. Reaching the eastern courtyard, I saw third uncle's son, Zheng, reviewing his studies. When third uncle passed, Zheng was still in swaddling clothes, now a slender youth. He stood tall and graceful, his features already bearing a striking resemblance to third uncle. "Why aren't you at the Imperial Academy? I recall today is not a day off." "Greetings, eldest sister." A flicker of panic crossed Zhenger's eyes, but he quickly composed himself and bowed to me. "Has something troubled you?" Zhenger shook his head and tried to step back, but I seized his wrist and rolled up his sleeve. His arm was covered in bruises and welts. My eyes stung with tears. "Did you fight back, big sister? It doesn't hurt. If it happens again, fight back. Fight fiercely. If the sky falls, they'll hold it up for you." Late into the night, after much deliberation, I knelt in the ancestral hall. I know this act is unfilial, but Ying truly has no other choice. A gust of wind flickered the temple candles. Those in the capital are adept at flattery and betrayal. Shifting with the wind, our Zhao family's 10 years of loyal martyrdom are already forgotten. Only the vast, hollow shell of the Duke of Hu's mansion remains, filled with women and children. I polished my grandfather's broken sword, my gaze unwavering. A maid announced, "The Lady of Chongping and the Crown Prince have arrived." Zhao. A cold laugh rose in my heart. Grandmother and second aunt were still at the temple fulfilling a vow. Their timing was impeccable. In the main hall, the lady of Chongping sat upright, while Zhao stood beside her in moon-white brocade robes. I hurried in and performed a dignified bow. The lady of Chongping pulled me to sit, chattering about Zhao's foolishness, urging me not to take it to heart and demanding he apologize. I rose to return the courtesy. The heir is too kind. What happened years ago was done willingly. He who gambles must accept the consequences. Zhao seemed taken aback by my words, pausing in surprise. The lady of Chongping, however, beamed with delight, drawing me closer with renewed warmth. I knew you wouldn't hold it against him. Ying. Then, tomorrow, your aunt will send envoys to present the betrothal gifts and take you as the crown prince's secondary consort. I looked up at Zhao, but he quickly averted his gaze. With so many people present that day, rumors may have spread. My second aunt stated the marriage contract was destroyed, the betrothal nullified. Henceforth, we are free to marry others, no longer bound. Silly girl. You and Zhao were childhood sweethearts. After all you did for him, who else could you possibly marry? What did I do for him? Merely a wager of 100 deeds over 3 years. The 100th task remains unfulfilled. I, Zhao Chuying, accept defeat. Why must I become a concubine in your household? Ying. This betrothal was arranged by your mother and me. Your second aunt has no right to renege. If she has no right, does this old woman, to demand my Ying as a concubine? The Chongping Marquis household truly has the nerve. Zhao stepped forward to bow. Grandmother struck him hard several times with her cane. You've bullied my Ying. I'll beat you to death. If even one of his father, brothers, or uncles were still alive today, you wouldn't have a chance. After driving Zhao and his mother away, grandmother held me and wept bitterly. At this point, I knew grandmother was powerless too. She could only feel more pain than I did. He was so kind to you back then. How could he become like this now? Is it truly because the Zhao family's fortune has waned? I lowered my head and laughed softly. Grandmother didn't mention it, but I had forgotten Zhao had once been kind to me too. 10 years ago, during that great battle, as the enemy forces were about to breach the city gates, my second brother hid me in a chicken coop tucked in the corner of the wall. He told me, "Good girl, Ying, let's play a little silent game. You mustn't make a sound, no matter what you see." Gritting my teeth, I peered through the bamboo slats and witnessed my father beheaded by the enemy, my mother pierced by countless arrows, and my beloved second brother trampled into the mud by the chaos of battle. Later, in a daze, I was carried back to the capital. The world was draped in mourning. By the time anyone noticed, I had already lost the ability to speak. A little mute from the frontier, no one wanted to play with me. It was Zhao who found me in a corner. He took my hand, brushed the dust from my clothes, and with the solemnity of a little adult, told me, "My name is Zhao. I am your betrothed." Then he slipped a piece of osmanthus candy into my mouth, ruffled my hair, and smiled gently. "Ying, don't be afraid. From now on, I'll protect you." He took me kite flying in spring, cicada catching in summer, lotus picking in autumn, and hot pot feasting in winter. Gradually, he spoiled me back into my former headstrong self. He would watch over me all night during my nightmares, repeating endlessly, "Ying, don't be afraid. I'll protect you." When noble ladies mocked my etiquette, he'd smile softly. "My Ying is still young. One day she'll be the most distinguished lady in the capital," he'd also say with regret in his eyes. "Ying, when will you call me brother Zhao?" But fearing my sadness, he'd blink and force a cheerful smile. "Ying, don't rush. Brother Zhao has a lifetime to be with you." How long is a lifetime? Father and mother said they'd stay with Ying forever, but father and mother are gone. Eldest brother and second brother also promised to protect Ying forever, but eldest brother and second brother are gone too. Ying is so worried if she never speaks again. Will brother Zhao disappear too? I knelt before the merciful Buddha for a very, very long time, begging for his compassion to let me speak. Late at night, I would dig at my throat, open my mouth wide, forcing myself to make a sound. Finally, on my 12th birthday, I cried out my first words. Brother Zhao. He wept with joy. My voice was hoarse from so long without speaking, and having grown up on the frontier, I couldn't speak the court language well, so Zhao stayed with me, practicing phrase by phrase. Later, I asked grandmother to invite a court tutor to teach me etiquette, flower arranging, tea preparation, incense burning. Every movement was measured by a ruler. I never enjoyed it, all for his once spoken words. My Ying will one day be the most distinguished noble lady in the capital. By the time of my coming-of-age ceremony, I had become the unrivaled center of attention in the capital, the foremost noble lady. But when did it all begin? He kept saying, "Why won't you let Wanqing win? She practiced that tea ceremony for so long. How heartbroken she must be now. I thought Wanqing excelled at flower arrangement. Why did you win again? Let Wanqing win tomorrow's polo match. Tomorrow's poetry competition. Let Wanqing win. Tomorrow. Tomorrow." I grew weary of hearing it. Not only would I not yield, I would make her lose spectacularly. Thus, Zhao devised our 3-year wager. 3 years a bond of mutual consent to repay his 3 years of keeping me company. At dawn, I knelt before the palace gates, clutching my grandfather's broken sword. People passed by, pointing and whispering. They may have long forgotten the Zhao family's legacy of loyalty and valor, but they all recognized Meth's eldest Zhao daughter had spent 3 absurd years relentlessly pursuing the Chongping Marquis heir. Has she come to petition the emperor to force a marriage? What a disgrace to the family, bearing such a daughter. I hear the Chongping Marquis' wife came to take her as a secondary consort. Yet she still refuses. She should be grateful someone wants her. Does she think the Duke of Huoga's mansion is what it used to be? I knelt from dawn until sunset. The wind along the long avenue swept through my hair, like a loved one urgently calling me home. But this time, Ying didn't want to hide anymore. As stars began to rise over the long river, a eunuch stepped before me. "Miss Zhao, come with us." The imperial study was brightly lit. I presented the broken sword. The majestic emperor seated on the high throne seemed momentarily dazed. "You are the eldest daughter of the Zhao family." I bowed my head and replied, "Yes. What is your request, Your Majesty?" "This humble daughter wishes to go to Ziliang for a political marriage." "What did you say?" A faint pressure hung in the air. The golden bricks of the hall were cold as ice. My forehead touched the floor, icy beneath my skin. Yet never had my mind felt so clear. "Your Majesty, this humble daughter wishes to go to Ziliang as a peace bride." After a long silence, a sigh echoed. "Do you understand what a peace marriage entails?" "Your Majesty, I grew up in Ziliang City. My grandfather, parents, uncle, and elder brother all died fighting there. I only wish for their souls to return to their homeland." "Raise your head." I lifted my gaze slowly, my eyes resolute. "A worthy daughter of the Zhao family, by imperial decree. The eldest daughter of the Zhao household, Zhao Chuying." I bowed my head. "Zhao Chuying shall be Princess Jiayi. She shall depart for Ziliang in 10 days for the marriage alliance." The eastern sky glowed faintly as dawn broke, and all was settled. A faint surge of satisfaction welled within me, and my steps quickened unconsciously. But someone abruptly grabbed me. "You petitioned for an imperial decree to force a marriage." Zhao's face bore undisguised anger. Beads of sweat glistening on his forehead had clearly rushed here. I knew he had been frustrated and unfulfilled all these years. His talents had nowhere to be applied. Though the Chongping Marquis household boasted illustrious lineage and overwhelming wealth, it held no real power. My family, meanwhile, possessed only the hollow reputation of loyalty and valor. Su Wanqing, however, was the legitimate daughter of the chief minister of the cabinet. Her elder brother held the position of Vice Minister of Personnel, and her ancestors had produced an imperial tutor. He had chosen a shortcut, yet still clung to the affection of childhood sweethearts. You think this will secure your position as crown prince consort? His brow furrowed deeply. Zhao Chuying, Wanqing has already conceded by agreeing to let me take you as a secondary wife. Why can't you be magnanimous, brother Zhao? Since sister Zhao has petitioned the emperor, let our marriage be called off. Su Wanqing adopted that tearful, pitiful look once more, but Zhao felt such heartache he immediately pulled her into his embrace. I sent betrothal gifts to your family yesterday. Even if an imperial decree arrives, there's no justification for divorcing one wife to marry another. If she enters this household, it will only be as a secondary consort. I hurried to inform my grandmother of this before the eunuch delivering the decree arrived at our home. I truly wished to avoid further entanglement with the two of them. Turning to Su Wanqing, I offered a gentle smile. Zhao, I don't want it anymore. It's yours. With that, I stepped into the morning light and left. Despite hurrying as fast as I could, I was still a step too late. The imperial gifts filled the entire courtyard, yet no one in the household rejoiced. Grandmother held the bright yellow imperial decree, seeming to age several years in an instant. I knelt and crawled forward on my knees, but grandmother wouldn't look at me. Grandmother, if you're angry, strike Ying a few times. Don't let it harm your own health. Why should I strike you? How could I possibly bring myself to do it? Grandmother choked back sobs several times. Ever since they left, you've shouldered the entire Duke of Hu's household. Now you've even sacrificed yourself to protect this family, young and old. How could I bear to strike you? Her aged hands clasped mine tightly. Grandmother asks only this. How certain are you of success on this mission? Unable to meet her expectant gaze, I lowered my head. You're willing to sacrifice another loyal martyr for the Zhao family. How could you be so heartless? Grandmother pulled me into her embrace. She was right. If I succeed, the Zhao family's honor will be restored. If I fail, my name as Princess Zhao will at least prolong the Protectorate Duke's legacy. But my resolve stems from a burning injustice. In the dead of night, I dream of mountains of corpses and rivers of blood. Though I cannot be a spear that sweeps across the battlefield like my brothers, I wish to be a sharp dagger, one that pierces the enemy's heart, avenging my family and my nation. After ordering servants to tidy the courtyard filled with gifts, I was about to retire when Zhao arrived again, bearing wedding offerings. In 10 days, I shall wed Wanqing. You shall enter the estate with us then. Zhao turned his face away, his eyes flickering with what seemed like remorse. I know being a secondary consort is a hardship for you, but if I rise to power, your Zhao family will also benefit. I let out a light laugh. Indeed, haven't I pursued the young master for 3 long years precisely to climb into the Chongping Marquis household and secure protection for my Zhao familia widow and her orphaned daughter? Ying, leave the items here. I too shall marry in 10 days. Consider this the young master's wedding gift to me. Rest assured, even as a secondary consort, I, Zhao, vow that no one shall ever dare mistreat the Zhao family again. His gaze burned intensely, yet its clarity had vanished. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Before dawn broke, the palace carriage was already waiting before the mansion gates. Grandmother did not ask me to bid farewell. She said this was not a true marriage. She would wait for the day when her Ying found a worthy husband and was married off in splendor. I stepped into the carriage, heading back along the road I had come. After clattering along for nearly half a day, a figure in crimson galloped toward us, reining in to block our path. Ying, he cried out in anguish. I lifted the curtain and stepped out. My wedding gown blazed like fire. Yet I wore this crimson no longer for him. Is this how you repay me? His eyes were filled with agony. Return with me. I will not marry Su Wanqing, and you shall not become the princess for this political alliance. He dismounted to pull me back, but a long sword blocked his path. I froze. The scabbard was engraved with 3 frost flowers, meant to be as pure as the moon, yet now streaked with threads of blood. The half-jade pendant swaying from its tassel was bought with money I'd secretly saved for so long. It was my eldest brother's frost moon cold star sword. I snapped my head up. The sword's wielder also wore silver armor and a white robe. Your Highness, my boy. Ce trembled slightly. Are you going back with him? He sheathed his sword, his gaze cold and unruffled. Fear not. I sought His Majesty's decree before coming. I shall bear full responsibility for this matter. Before I could speak, Zhao seized my hand. Ying, come back with me, Your Highness. Ying is my betrothed. She acted in a fit of pique, clouded by anger. I beg your forgiveness. I wrenched my hand free. Noon sunlight bathed the wedding gown, its crimson glow blinding. Zhao. The marriage contract is destroyed. Our betrothal is null. We are now strangers. Farewell. The contract remains. Zhao frantically pulled the paper from his robe. Ying. That day was merely a joke Wanqing played, but I never treated it as a joke. My tone was icy, laced with anger. 3 years. 100 tasks. Zhao. Do you know what state of mind I was in to complete them? That lantern festival, when you were laughing and chatting with Su Wanqing. I was standing behind the tree. 3 years ago. The lantern festival. He had refused to yield to Su Wanqing for my sake, leaving me cold for many days. I carried the rabbit lantern I'd made myself, filled with anticipation, to find him. Instead, I saw him and Su Wanqing standing by the riverbank, laughing and chatting cheerfully. That Zhao Chuying is truly formidable, excelling in everything. With her around, my father's wish for me to become the capital's foremost noble lady seems impossible to fulfill. It's also my own fault for lacking talent. Ching. If you wish to be the foremost noble lady, what's so difficult about that? I stood behind the tree, listening quietly to Zhao's plan. My fingers tightened around the lantern handle, but a mere wager. I, Zhao Chuying, can certainly afford to accept it. Drunken indiscretions. Galloping down the long street, frost on the tiles, snow on the branches, dew among the flowers. I've plucked spring's tenderest tea buds, basked in summer's fiercest sun, learned Qiu Nyang's pipa melodies, danced the courtesan's graceful bows. Yet none of it matters now. Ying, Zhao murmured. Eyes reddened, unable to speak further. Brother Zhao, I never coveted this title of the capital's foremost noble lady. As I said before, these past 3 years, my affection was freely given. I accept the consequences of my choice. I am a wrong spirit who escaped from Xuliang. Now, I must return to claim my due. I also wish you well on your path to the clouds. Brother Zhao, do not look back. Do not regret. I curtsied gracefully, then rose and returned to the carriage. I never looked back at Zhao once more. The marriage alliance procession moved forward slowly. Before sunset, the convoy reached the postal station. I couldn't hold back any longer and knocked on His Royal Highness the Crown Prince's door. He showed no surprise at my arrival. The eldest Miss Zhao has been staring at this sword the entire journey. I suppose she has recognized it. He held the sword out before me. I took it with both hands. Tears welled in my eyes. My eldest brother, Zhao Chuzhong, excelled in both literary and martial arts, unmatched in the capital. Back then, everyone sighed. If only every son could be like Lord Zhao. Yet this brother, so radiant and noble, was ultimately thrown from his horse by an enemy general, dragged to death, his lower body ground down to bare bone. I arrived too late that day. I gently traced the bloodstains on the scabbard. How could I blame him for arriving late? Back then, the Zhao family of the Duke of Hugu was too powerful, their achievements threatening the throne. Had he not mobilized the private troops left to him by the late empress, the border defenses my Zhao clan guarded might have fallen. For this, he was punished with 10 years guarding the imperial tombs. By my reckoning, He had only just returned to the capital. That he came to see me off was already remarkable. Your Royal Highness, your body is precious. After escorting this humble maiden out of the pass, please return. Having come, I never intended to leave. Zhao Chuying, do you truly believe that under the guise of a peace marriage, stealing the border defense maps will allow you to reclaim Xiliang City? I gasped in shock. Seeing my wide-eyed stare, he suddenly smiled. His features radiant, still the same as when we were children. Your eyes are naturally large, but when you widen them like this, they resemble a cow's. For a moment, I felt dazed. As if the person before me was still that handsome youth who had galloped here with my elder brother that day, though his sharp tongue was truly irritating. When I ate, he called me fat. When I sunbathed, he called me dark. When I studied, he said I lacked talent. When I trained in martial arts, he said my bone structure was poor. Only once did he praise me. After I crawled trembling from the blood-spattered chicken coop in the corner, he pulled me forcefully into his embrace. His voice hoarse as he said, "Ying was very good. You did well." He bent low, his hanging hair brushing my cheek. It tickled. His breath grazed my ear as he gritted his teeth. Zhao Chuying, how long will you keep pretending? Is it amusing to act as if you don't know me? No. It wasn't amusing. I was just afraid. Afraid he'd scold me, call me useless, scold me for being toyed with for 3 years, scold me for bringing shame upon the Duke of Hu's household. But what could I do? I was merely a young girl discovering love, left with only reckless courage. My throat felt bitterly sour, and my eyes filled with mist. He pressed my head against his chest. Ying has done very well. I'll walk the path ahead with you. I clutched his robe, sobbing uncontrollably. After calming down, I told him, Your Highness, this course of action is unwise. He tilted his head and clicked his tongue, snatching the handkerchief from my hand to wipe the tear streaks on his chest. I lowered my head, feeling my face flush. And Miss Zhao's actions are perfectly wise. Are they? But, no buts. He sighed softly. I, like Ying, have been a caged beast for 10 long years. I refuse to hide any longer. Let's make a wager. If this succeeds, Ying and I shall rule the realm together. If it fails, he fixed his gaze upon me. You and I shall descend to the underworld together. You. Shock rendered me speechless. Didn't you break off the engagement? I nodded. And your reputation isn't exactly stellar. I nodded again. Then I suppose I'll reluctantly have to marry you. Li Jingyuan. Ha 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 ha. He threw his head back in laughter. With him around, this journey of a political marriage felt surprisingly cheerful. Zhao Chuying. Have you forgotten how to ride after living as a noble lady? Dismount and race me. It felt like a decade ago on the frontier. Endless yellow sands, the rhythmic clatter of hooves. Unseen were the world's treacheries. Untasted the warmth and coldness of human relationships. The convoy reached Suiwei Pass, less than 100 li from Xiliang City. Climbing the tower, a desolate, grim vista stretched before them. Li Jingyuan summoned the garrison commander for questioning. Within moments, over a dozen men were executed. A concubine can secure the state's peace. What use is a general? Zhao Chuying. You cannot fulfill your role as a peace marriage princess. Why not become a female general at my side? Xiliang City, a frontier stronghold, was built on treacherous terrain easy to defend, hard to conquer. Now occupied, it stood impregnable. A direct assault was futile. Only an internal breach would work. Over the years, more than 10 peace princesses had been sent, all tortured to death. Their corpses hung from the city walls, beautiful faces now skeletal remains. Yet in the general's tent, swords rusted with stains, while beauties still danced and sang. Li Jingyuan declared he would tear the frontier sky apart. Then, I shall accompany him. The Zhao family's 36 spear techniques and 72 sword forms I too was personally trained by my grandfather and father. The banner bearing the character Zhao fluttered fiercely in the wind. My heart swelled with boundless exhilaration. Only today did I truly shoulder the mantle of the Duke of the Nation's protection. On the day Chu Liangqing fell, the nightmare that had haunted me for a decade finally dissipated. Li Jingyuan and I pressed our advantage, capturing 13 frontier cities in succession. When word reached the capital, an imperial attendant arrived bearing the emperor's edict ordering our arrest and return to the capital. Throughout the journey, the usually talkative Li Jingyuan remained silent. Upon reaching the capital, I was imprisoned in the heavenly dungeon. Li Jingyuan was taken elsewhere. The dungeon was dim, devoid of any sense of time. My heart ached for Li Jingyuan. This border campaign had rendered his decade of quiet perseverance utterly wasted. The emperor, ever suspicious, would never tolerate another by his side even if that person was his chosen heir. His own flesh and blood. The crime of defiance was greater than heaven itself. Torches flickered in the darkness as footsteps drew nearer. I rose unconsciously, gripping the bars, my heart filled with hope. Ying. Are you waiting for me? Qi Zhao, clad in purple robes, was clearly now a close minister to the emperor. Where is the crown prince? I felt a surge of anxiety. Ying, we haven't seen each other in so long. Yet your first words mention another. Has our bond from days past truly faded to nothing? The firelight danced in his eyes, reflecting a flicker of something crystalline. Qi Zhao, once the pieces are set, there is no taking them back. You chose the path to the clouds. Do not look back. And what of you? Ying, have you chosen His Highness the Crown Prince? I chose to fight alongside him on the bloody battlefield, to return to the capital with him bearing his guilt. Do you know he fled days ago? A band of loyal guards escorted him out of the capital. Ying, did he come to rescue you? My heart sank, and I collapsed onto the ground. It was good he had fled. He could have fled on the way back to the capital, but he insisted on returning to gamble on the imperial family's father-son bond. Now, he's gotten what he asked for. Qi Zhao, I ask nothing else of you, but for the sake of our past friendship, please look after the Duke of Hui's residence. Qi Zhao kept his head bowed, silent for a long time. Ying, why didn't you wait for me? Marrying Su Wanqing was merely a temporary measure. The day I returned, I annulled our betrothal. I traded the entire fortune of the Chongping Marquis household to bring you back. The imperial decree was issued. Yet you went and suffered a crushing defeat against Chu Liang at the frontier with the crown prince. Ying, after 10 years together, I suddenly realize I never truly understood you at all. Everyone says you're madly in love with me, yet you chose a political marriage over marrying me. During our 3-year wager, you endured every hardship with caution and never turned against me. All praised your timidity. Yet you charged forward with spear raised, pursuing enemies for 1,000 miles. Ying, which one is the real you? Did you ever truly care for me? Silence hung heavy within the cell. Moonlight filtered through the high window, casting patches of light and shadow across his form. I have walked beside him for 10 years. He was once honey in my heart, later a dagger that cut to the bone. For him, I set aside family vengeance and national grievances, learned propriety and etiquette, longed for a wedding procession stretching 10 miles. But true affection should never be his excuse to treat me with contempt. It shouldn't be his mockery when he used me as a stepping stone for others. Qi Zhao, do you remember my birthday wish when I was 12? Back then, I had just begun to speak, my voice hoarse and my words still unclear. I pressed my palms together, making a sincere wish. Ying's wish is to grow up and become Zhao brothers' wife. Year after year, my wish remains the same. Qi Zhao's eyes suddenly widened. He lowered his head, tears rolling down his cheeks. He fled in panic. The next news I heard came from the prison guard delivering me also casual remark. The heir to the Marquis of Chongping has joined the third prince in rebellion. I was somewhat surprised, but upon reflection, it made sense. His Majesty lay gravely ill, the Crown Prince's whereabouts unknown. In this chaotic world, only the victor's cause endures. My sole plea was that my family, the entire household of the Duke of Hugi, might be spared. Thankfully, that day, Zhao had promised to protect the Zhao family. Through that tiny window, I gazed at the moon hanging high in the sky. Yet I wondered where the moon that once rested in my heart now lay. When bound atop the tower, I saw him, his white robe dusted with grime, silver armor splattered with blood, his brow furrowed with urgency. Only then did my heart settle. A sword pressed against my throat, bringing sharp pain and a tinge of cold. Li Jingyuan immediately dropped his sword without a moment's hesitation. I couldn't help but curse him out. You coward. Do you really think I'd follow you to the underworld if you died? Zhao still has our marriage contract. Believe it or not, before your body even cools, they'll turn around and marry someone else. Celebrating our wedding night. Before I could finish shouting, warm blood splattered across my body. Zhao slowly withdrew the sword from the third prince's body, his eyes burning with madness as he stared at me. Ying, did you just mean what you said? Zhao, have you lost your mind? Ying, if only you'd come back. What does it matter if I'm branded a traitorous rebel? Zhao, you wouldn't. At this point, only a fool would remain unaware. It was all a scheme orchestrated by the Crown Prince and Zhao. They must have struck their deal after Li Jingyuan was escorted back to the capital, using the third prince's hand to eliminate rivals, then ascending the throne with righteous justification. For his service in supporting the dragon's rise, he would naturally attain the highest rank among ministers. This was all Zhao had ever sought in his life. I glanced at the faint redness in Zhao's eyes, then turned and walked down the stairs. Unexpectedly, an icy arrow flew from behind. Li Jingyuan leapt forward, shielding me in his embrace. The sound of flesh being pierced echoed. Zhao had positioned himself behind me. An arrow pierced straight through his chest. In the distance, Su Wanqing stood frozen, her hands bleeding from the bowstring's grip. Her expression was a mix of laughter and tears. The Su family had always been closely aligned with the third prince over the years. It was precisely because of this that Zhao could so easily gain the third prince's trust. Soldiers dragged Su Wanqing off. I stepped forward to help Zhao up. He struggled to pull something from his chest. The marriage contract had held close to his heart was pierced by the arrow, soaked in blood. When he finally pulled it out, it was torn to shreds. He gave a bitter laugh. So it was never meant to last. Blood gushed from his mouth as his breath grew faint. Ying, I regret. The imperial physician rushed to treat him. Fortunately, Su Wanqing was not skilled in archery, and the arrow had missed its mark. Though the wound was still severe, Zhao lay bedridden for half a month. I visited him several times, tending to him diligently. That night, Li Jingyuan, the emperor, climbed through the window and pinned me to the bed. He lowered his head, his breath brushing my neck. His questioning tone carried a hint of grievance. This medicinal scent. You visited your old lover again. Zhao Chuying, how cruel you are. You remember your bet with him, yet turn your back on me. I couldn't help but chuckle. What does your majesty wish of me? To deny the wager with Zhao. He suddenly bit into the soft flesh of my neck, his words muffled. Zhao Chuying, you dare. After releasing me, he licked at the spot for a moment longer, disgusted by the saliva had left on me. I wiped it away with a handkerchief. To my surprise, this enraged him. He clamped my wrist. Zhao Chuying, you despise me. This. Who would like a neck covered in saliva? Seeing my silence, he actually started acting aggrieved. No wonder you refused to accept that imperial decree appointing the empress. They'll tell grandmother you abandoned me after seducing Mayor untrustworthy. They'll denounce you at the Zhao family shrine. I'd always known him to be sharp-tongued, but never imagined he could be so shameless. I waved him off. Go ahead. Denounce me. Denounce me. Cold winds swept through the flickering candlelight. Who would have thought had actually dragged me to the shrine? Zhao Chuying. I. Li Jingyuan. Ask this only once. He suddenly gripped my shoulders. His expression grave. Is it that you still can't let go of He Zhao? I gave a slight nod. His entire body trembled. His eyes shattering. A mocking smile touched his lips. 10 years of friendship truly cannot compare to the few months we shared life and death. I was puzzled. What are you thinking? He was wounded saving me. I've never liked owing anyone. He hasn't fully recovered yet. So of course I can't let go. I gazed at the rows of spirit tablets on the altar. My Zhao family's ancestral creed is charged forward without hesitation. Never look back. I refused your imperial decree to make me empress only because the frontier remains unsettled. And Chu Liang has no generals to defend it. If you are willing, wait 3 years for me. Once the frontier is pacified, I shall return and make you empress. If you are unwilling. He lowered his head to silence me with his lips. My struggles were futile. This is the Zhao family ancestral hall. Does he not fear my brother coming for him with a sword in the dead of night? I shall wait for you. I swear before the ancestral spirits of the Zhao family that this life belongs only to Ying. Don't speak so definitively. My ancestors are not ones to be trifled with. Li Jinjuan's eyes flickered. Perhaps recalling the day my grandfather whipped him with a horse lash. My eldest brother once told me that as a child. He was unruly. The late empress sent him to our home to be disciplined by my grandfather. Grandfather commanded his troops with iron discipline and was even more strict with his own descendants. Li Jingyuan didn't believe it at first. But when he made mistakes, grandfather's horsewhip showed him no mercy. Among the vast waters, I choose but one ladleful to drink. I shall set an example for all men under heaven. His voice was gentle, brimming with deep affection. Suddenly, the ancestral hall doors were pushed open from outside. Ouch, stop pushing, second sister hadn't even steadied herself when a line of people stumbled in behind her. I gasped in shock. Finger second aunt smoothed her clothes and gave an awkward smile. Just as everyone was about to kneel in greeting, grandmother entered smiling from outside. Grandmother, I twisted Li Jinjuan's arm in frustration. After grandmother led everyone in their greetings, she approached, staff in hand. Your Majesty, were your words just now sincere? Li Jingyuan bowed deeply. Grandmother, I too have received your teachings. My heart is wholly pledged to one person alone. Grandmother nodded with satisfaction. My Ying has endured too much wrongdoing. Should she suffer even a fraction more henceforth? Even if you are the son of heaven, my cane shall strike you. Li Jingyuan nodded repeatedly. I will. I certainly will. 10 days later, I set out for Zuliang. This time, Fanger accompanied Meihe was my second uncle's eldest son, the 14-year-old youth, clad in armor and military attire, carried a long spear in one hand. His silver saddle gleamed against the white horse, galloping swiftly like a shooting star. Amid the crowd, He Zhao stood pale and sickly, gazing at me from afar. That arrow had struck at his very core. The imperial physician had said it threatened his life. The past could not be undone. I spurred my horse and galloped away. 3 years later, Li Jingyuan personally came to Zuliang to escort me back to the palace. The day of my coronation as empress coincided with my birthday. Amidst the dazzling fireworks filling the sky, he and I ascended the palace tower to admire the spectacle together. Last winter, He Zhao accidentally fell into the lake and died. That lake was the very one I had once leaped into. I knew not what thoughts troubled him, but I heard from his long-serving attendant. The young master was tormented by nightmares, clamoring to find the marriage contract. This grand fireworks display was arranged at his command before he drew his last breath. I recalled my childhood, when I first returned to the capital and saw fireworks for the first time. Filled with boundless joy, he pulled me up to the highest tower and laughed aloud. On the day Ying marries, I will light up the entire city with fireworks for you. Fire trees and silver flowers touched the crimson sky, sparkling and dazzling like a shower of stars. After the bustle, only desolation remained. Only the bright moon hung high. Embers fell into my eyes, stinging them red and brimming with tears. Li Jingyuan said bitterly, even in death, he still manages to break your heart. This is so annoying. Though he's gone, every time I recall the time he spent with you, it makes me seethe with jealousy. What am I to? His jealousy is killing me, Li Jingyuan wailed at the top of his lungs. I couldn't help but turn and cover his mouth. Zhao was to me like these fireworks, a momentary splendor, ultimately fading into silence. But you, I rose, gazing at the bright moon in the sky. What about me? Li Jingyuan gripped my wrist tightly. You are like the moon in the heavens, radiant and pure night after night. He suddenly pulled me into his embrace, sighing softly. Zhao Chuying is no mere star. You are the boundless sky itself. All I see is you. All I rely on is you. Fireworks cannot endure the scissors. The bright moon illuminates the vast sky, and